Hello, everyone. This is Emily. Thanks for being here. I tried to give it a couple of minutes so that people could kind of filter into the group, and hopefully this will go as smoothly as possible. We're just gonna we're just gonna do it, and it's gonna be okay. So, all right, I am going to make a couple of adjustments so I can have my face in the corner of the screen. And if you have any questions, please type them out. And I actually, my best friend is here to help monitor the questions because I found I was getting distracted whenever I was trying to read questions when I did a practice run of this. Um, so, all right. How many people are in there?
10.
10 people. Pretty good amount. All right. I'm going to try to, I don't know why this isn't working. Oh, it helps if you add yourself to the stream. That's very, very helpful. And then you get to, and then you get to say hi. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. And hopefully, whoever comes in, I'll try to remind people to ask their questions and then I will answer them at the end. Like I said, my BFF is here to write down questions and to help keep me sane while I'm doing this. BT Dubs, her name is also Corey, and it's spelled exactly like the Miracle Twin Corey. So I don't know. I think that's pretty cool.
It is.
It is. All right. So we're okay. Thank you for coming to the Business of Mental Health. Appreciate you being here. If there are any issues with sound or visuals, please type that in and we will, I don't know, we'll try to do something about it. I have an outline in front of me, so I'm going to be referring to that. So, my name is Emily Smith. I am a licensed clinical social worker. It's it's been kind of funny to hear Heather and Corey promote this live and not really know what I am. And I know Heather had said trained psychotherapist, which is, that's accurate. But a therapist, it can have several different credentials. There's psychologists, there's licensed mental health professionals, blah 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 blah. So, oh, good thing. See, the BFF is here to help me remember to go to the next slide. And I love her for it. Okay. Because I kept forgetting that when I practiced. Just a quick note, just so you understand. Social work is its own profession. I got my master's in social work in 2011 and I started my private practice in 2017. I was doing therapy in there at other agencies, but now I am self-employed. Yay, loving it. Um, the thing that distinguishes social work from things like psychiatry and psychology is that social work places emphasis on social justice as well as mental health and human development and larger systems such as neighborhoods. So, psychologists study psychology, and some of them do therapy, but many of them are into research and testing. They'll do like psychological evaluations for people. And then psychiatrists go to medical school, get a medical degree, and then they specialize in psychiatry. And their primary function in mental health is to do medication management. They don't do therapy all that often. Most individual psychotherapists are people with a master's level degree like myself. So, hope that is helpful. um, so, I got into cookie decorating last year in the winter. So, just 6, 7 months ago. I was watching the Christmas Cookie Championship because I love baking competitions. And I was fascinated with these beautiful pieces of art that people were creating and sharing. And I thought there was something in my soul that called to me and said, you have to try this. And so I told everybody in my life, I'm like, I think I have to try this. And then I tried it. And now there's no going back because I love it so much. It's all I want to do. It's all I want to do. I want to tell a quick story that I think you'll appreciate that is cookie related. In 2011, I went to Guatemala with a group of students who were in my social work program. And one of the places that we went was to a preschool. And when we were there observing, the teacher was teaching the kids English words. And so we were there, and it's hot, it's humid. It was May in Guatemala. And so it was pretty lackluster. The children were paying attention, but not terribly excited. So she would say something like libro, and they would say book. And she said casa, and they said house. And then she said galleta, and their faces lit up, and they all went cookie. And I was so thrilled by that because I've always known that dessert was a universal language. So, anyway, thank you for being here and watching. How many folks are in the thing?
It's going between 9 and 10.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's all right. It's a small, intimate group. I like that. I want to thank Ben from YNAB for helping me figure out how to do a Facebook Live. And I want to also thank Heather for that too, because she was helpful and thankfully emailed me back yesterday. Both of them helped me get this so I could have a slideshow along with the presentation. Because I figured you wouldn't want to just watch me talk for 45 minutes or whatever, however long this is going to be. I've got a timer going. Hopefully anyway, I'm wasting time already. All right. So some sources that I have for this is, I always like to cite my sources. I was taught well. The various works of Dr. Brené Brown. I don't, if you've heard of her, hopefully you like her work. I recommend her work to pretty much every client that I have because it's relevant to all of our lives. So she has various books and podcasts. I've listened to her TED Talks. I've watched her Netflix special. Check her out. She's very cool and kind of brilliant. Doctors Emily and Amelia Nagoski, who wrote a book called Burnout and taught me just about everything I know about what burnout is. And they also have a really good podcast called the Feminist Survival Podcast. And I have listened to that a couple times through, and I still go back and listen. And then there's a really great article called Stop Telling Women They Have Imposter Syndrome. And that is, oh gosh, I forgot to put the names of the women down who did that. I knew it yesterday. I believe it is, okay, Jodi Ann Burry and Rachika. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot her last name. That's okay. You know what? Everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. Okay. Today I'm going to talk about how mental health relates to business. I'm going to try to put mental health in the context of business as often as I can. And before we get into the real meat of the discussion, just if you want to check out my Facebook page, that is for my private practice. It is facebook.com/Emily Empowers. No pressure, but I try to post meaningful articles, stuff about relationships, and inspirational memes. So enjoy that if you're into that. If you would like to talk to a therapist, but you're not really sure how to go about that, a great resource is psychologytoday.com. You can go on there and you can search very specific parameters for the type of therapist that you want, including gender, whatever their specialty is, what their niche is. You know, like do they do relationships? Do they help with ADHD? So it's a great place to look. And then they have a profile that you can read and a photo. And if you need health insurance but can't get it because your employer doesn't offer it or because you're self-employed, then you can visit healthcare.gov. And that's a great place to see, if you qualify for coverage and how much you qualify for as far as like a monthly, it's not stipend, that's not the word, it's a different word, but see how much you qualify to take off of the monthly premium. Okay. I want to identify barriers to success in your business, and I especially want to talk about imposter syndrome. So, okay, imposter syndrome. Let's see. I found this quote that I thought was really cool and I wanted to share it. And it says, when you're nervous about stepping outside of your comfort zone, remind yourself it feels scary because it's unfamiliar, not because I'm incapable. Let that sink in for a moment. That's good stuff. So, imposter syndrome, gosh, I want to talk about how cultural and individual struggles contribute to imposter syndrome and then strategies to overcome those barriers. If you're just coming into the live, I just wanted to say again that if you have questions, please share them and I will answer them at the end. My best friend Corey, Corrie, is here to help keep me in line and help keep me from having an anxiety attack right now. Just FYI. All right. And looking at mental health through the lens of imposter syndrome requires us to understand a few things. So, I'm kind of skirting the edge of politics, but not really getting into politics. So I don't know. I know that we try to not talk politics in the cookie group, and that's completely reasonable. But when you're talking about mental health, social justice is 100% relevant to issues relating to mental health. So, first of all, it's important to understand that we live in a shame culture. And that's not a judgment thing. That's just a fact. The research is very clear about what a shame culture is. And that's a culture where, unfortunately, there is a scarcity mindset. So there's this feeling of, oh, there's not enough. I'm not enough. This isn't good enough. And I can't be happy until I am good enough. So that's the culture we live in. And that is part of why people suffer from mental health issues. Most of our struggles are a systemic issue, not an individual failing. And the more I practice as a therapist and the more I experience the world around me, the more I understand this, that most of what we experience that are mental health problems are a systemic issue. They are not because we're doing anything wrong on an individual level. So that goes for having anxiety, having depression, having addictions, having eating disorders, all of it. It's a systemic issue at the core. There are always individual factors, but it's the system. All right. Another thing I want everyone to understand is that setbacks are a natural part of progress. So you cannot have success without failure along the way. Failure is not a bad word. It is absolutely 100% something that is necessary. Oh, sorry, I'm changing the slide too soon.
Oh.
Or I did it wrong. Something messed up. It's okay. It's all fine. Everything's fine. That's all right. You're perfect. It's okay. Uh, so when you have a setback, whether it's in your personal life or in your professional life, in your business, remember everything is a cycle. Everything waxes and wanes. For example, a lot of people are freaking out right now because sales are going down with their bakery businesses. And the thing is, as I learned from Heather and Corey on their podcast, which I love, this is the time when that starts slowing down. Like midsummer is the slow time for cookie businesses. And rather than looking at that as a failure, you can reframe that and look at it as, okay, what opportunity does this give me? So I hope that that is helpful. That is something that I tell my clients all the time. Setbacks are a natural part of progress. And one more thing is that I want to talk about vulnerability for a moment, because opening a business, running a business is a vulnerable act, and vulnerability requires courage. So I just want to talk about vulnerability for a minute. Now I get to do the slide. All right. Brene Brown. Oh, I love this quote. Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. I love Brene Brown, y'all. I just can't help it. She's just like, don't listen to this for a minute. I kind of wish she was my BFF. Sometimes. She could be my mental health BFF.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as vulnerability goes, there is this pervasive myth in our culture that vulnerability means weakness. And yes, while vulnerability is defined as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure, it's also the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and change. And guess what? Those things, creativity, innovation, and change, that's what makes our lives joyful. That's like the good stuff. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, such as when you decide you're going to open a business, a home-based bakery, or you're going to take the leap to having a brick and mortar location, you're being vulnerable and therefore extremely courageous. And that's okay. And sometimes vulnerability does lead to negative feelings, but there is no path to success, courage, and joy without going through vulnerability. And I think that is such a key thing to understand. Okay. So I want to give an example. So, kind of going back to there is no success without failure, and that setbacks are a normal part of progress, is I want to tell you how Post-its came about, which is kind of funny because I literally have several Post-its around me right now. And I have a couple of different kinds as well. And they're all over the place, frankly. So in my house, because I love them so much. The guy, I believe it was probably a chemist. I don't remember all the details, but so the guy who invented Post-its was working on a formula for an extremely sticky adhesive. And it turned out that it really didn't work very well. But what it did do is it allowed him to stick something to it and then pull it right off. And that brought about Post-its. So when you have a failure or you have a setback, remember Post-its. Be like, this could be my Post-it moment. This could be my Post-its. So Post-its, y'all, Post-its. All right. All right. So we're on to page 2. So I want to get into imposter syndrome now because let's see. I see it so often, especially among the women that I know. I see it in the cookie group. I see it in my colleagues and friends. And so imposter syndrome is loosely defined as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. There's been a lot of discussion about imposter syndrome in the last few years. It disproportionately affects high achieving people, women, and particularly women of color. And this is not a recognized mental health disorder, but it's considered a psychological phenomenon right now. And there is a push to have it qualified as a mental health disorder so that it can be treated, and then insurance will pay for that treatment. So who knows? We might get there in the next few years. this is another example of a cultural and systemic problem. That having imposter syndrome is not a moral failing on the part of the individual. It is part of the issues that we have in our culture at large. So, where I see imposter syndrome showing up in the group is in pricing, when people have questions about, is my pricing okay? In the quality of their work, and then often in response to client complaints. And so, again, imposter syndrome, it's completely understandable why we have it based on how our culture works. We live in a society where there's this unreasonable expectation placed upon people, and particularly women, that we have to be perfect and we have to look perfect and we have to do everything perfectly and then make it look easy. And that's a lot, just all on its own. That's a lot. So so that's where I've seen it in the group, particularly with baked goods and cookies, is, oh my gosh, am I charging too much? Is my work good enough? I've seen people post, this is my first set of cookies. Do they look okay? And they are absolutely beautiful. But as you probably know, we all tend to be our own worst critics. So, some mental health issues that contribute to syndrome, which once again, imposter syndrome is feeling like a fraud, and doubting your abilities. What's that? Oh, not yet. I'm not supposed to change the slide yet. Okay, sorry. All right. Some mental health issues that contribute to imposter syndrome and could ultimately affect your business, and its success is, oh crap, I think I forgot to do a slide for comparison. Oh no, I didn't. I remembered it. All right. I'm so sorry I said crap. I'm one of my fears about this is that I'm going to accidentally drop a swear word, and so trying not to do that. Okay. So comparison is, it's kind of a natural result of living in a shame culture, is that there's a tendency for us to compare ourselves to each other. Like, oh, I don't do this as well as this person, so I must not be good. Or, I mean, oh gosh, I've done it. We've all done it, where we look at someone else's creation, their cookies, what they can do. And the thing is that there's a great saying, and that's, comparison is the thief of joy. And I live that. I know it to be true, and I hear it so often from my clients and just people around me, comparing themselves regardless of how good they are at something. There's this, oh well, so and so looks this way, or so and so can do this, or has access to these things. And the thing is that wherever you are in on your journey through this life is just fine. There's no timeline that you have to achieve any certain thing by a certain age, or that you have to do or be anything in order to be worthy and deserving of joy and love and belonging. So I just wanted to talk about comparison because I think that's a big thing. Especially, I see it a lot in the cookie group where people are comparing their pricing to somebody in their town, or their talents to someone else. And I'm just telling you, like, you are enough just as you are. Right now, in this moment, you really are. Okay. I want to talk about anxiety because someone brought that up in a post in the group a few weeks ago of, I think they were referencing this upcoming live and said, what are you all most concerned about? And I saw so many people talk about anxiety. So I want to do a quick lesson on what is anxiety. All right. So anxiety is basically a stress response And it is the brain's attempt to survive. Let me break that down a little bit. So, some common symptoms of an anxiety disorder, because there's a difference between kind of daily anxiety in response to normal everyday stressors like, running late to work or being stuck in traffic or forgetting that you need to go to the grocery store or things like that. We have in those instances, typically we have just a momentary feeling of anxiety, and we're like, oh gosh, this is gonna be, this is an inconvenience, and I don't like this, and then we kind of get over it because it's not affecting the overall quality of our lives. So with an anxiety disorder, that's where people tend to worry a lot, worry every day of their lives, basically. Um, they often have difficulty sleeping because they can't shut their brain off. They're having racing thoughts. It's often what I've heard it referred to as monkey mind, like a monkey swinging from tree to tree. I've experienced that too. That's no fun. And I do want to say I have experienced anxiety throughout my life, and I'm very grateful that I now have it very well managed. But I know how debilitating it can be. Some of the physical symptoms of anxiety can be muscle tension, headaches, back pain, the feeling of tightness in the chest or like tension in the solar plexus, which is kind of like right here. That's where I get it. That solar plexus. Ooh, that's where I know my emotions live. So, oh, yes, all kinds of stuff going on in your body that is just not comfortable. I want to, okay. I'm so glad y'all are here. I really am. It's helpful to understand how your brain works in order to understand and manage anxiety. And I am a complete and total neuroscience nerd. And just to prove it, I want to show you. Here is my brain cookie cutter. I have a brain cookie cutter because I love talking about, learning about the human brain. I love you. All right. So, now my cat is meowing. This will be fun. Uh, all right. So, I'm just going to hopefully give you a quick rundown of how the brain works when you're in anxiety. So the limbic system of the brain is the part of the brain that responds to stressors. A stressor is the thing that you encounter or experience that causes the stress response. So the limbic system is in charge of that. When we experience a stressor, the limbic system kind of wakes up. It recognizes, oh, you're experiencing a stressor, and stress is what you feel whenever you are experiencing a perceived threat. It doesn't even have to be a real threat. It's just a perceived threat. I know, it's so unfair. Come on, brain. Get it together. All right. So what happens is that you experience the stressor, you feel the stress because the limbic system has kicked in and it is now in survival mode, and the fight, flight, or freeze response has happened. So that's the part. It's a survival. It's about survival. What's that?
Mechanism.
Survival mechanism. Thank you. Because the fight, flight, or freeze response is about there. It is okay. Let me just say this. So the limbic part of the brain is not terribly evolved. It basically thinks we're still cave people. And for some reason, and I don't know that any scientists have figured out why this is, but the rest of the brain is pretty well evolved, but the limbic system is not. So anytime you experience a stressor, a perceived threat, the limbic system basically thinks a predator is trying to kill you and probably eat you. Sorry. Or feed you to its babies, which makes it a little more tolerable, but still, no one needs that. So the fight, flight, or freeze kicks in because way back when we were, you know, cave people and what's the word for like the oldest humans?
Prehistoric.
Prehistoric humans, I can't think of words sometimes. It's just been happening. Um, all right, so it's not evolved. Cave people, it thinks that what we need to do is either fight off the predator, run from the predator, or play dead so that the predator might leave us alone. Fight, flight, or freeze. And so that's where a lot of our mental health issues come from is because of that stress response and that very strong instinct to survive a threatening situation. I hope that made sense. If it doesn't, please tell me. I'd be happy to try to explain it again because I'm having my own little bit of anxiety today about doing this. So, but I love y'all. I'm so glad you're here. Okay. All right. I'm a neuroscience nerd. I'll show you my cookie cutter one more time because, ooh, I love it so much. All right. One way anxiety shows up for business owners is through what is known as an FFT. Now you're like, FFT, Emily, did you make that up? I did not make it up, but Brene Brown did make it up. But I love this concept. So an FFT is, well, the G-rated version of what an FFT is a flipping first time. And we go through an FFT anytime we are experiencing something new, we're trying to learn something new, we're meeting someone new, we're doing something brand new where there's some level of risk involved. And it's that feeling of fear mixed with excitement, mixed with, oh my God, why am I doing this? Why did I do this to myself? Which I say to myself on occasion when I think about having, opened a home bakery. I'm just like, oh my God, why am I doing this? So whenever you're feeling that kind of experience when you're doing something new, it's one of the best ways to cope, first of all, is to name that experience and say, oh, this is an FFT. Now, if you have opened a business, if you are running a business, or if you're changing your business in any way, you're probably experiencing FFTs on the regular. So now that you know that language, use it to your advantage because it's always, always, always good to name the feeling or the experience that we're having. It helps us have a better sense of control in that situation. Even though there are many uncontrollable elements in the world, it can kind of help us focus in on what we can control. So ways of coping with an FFT. I am fully in an FFT right now, by the way. Fully and completely. So first of all, name it. I'm in an FFT. I am in an FFT right now. The second way to cope with being in an FFT is to have some perspective on it. To tell yourself, okay, I'm in an FFT. This is not going to last forever. This is a temporary experience. I will get through it. And this is completely normal that I feel this way. Everybody feels this way when they're in an FFT. And then reality check your expectations is the next thing to do. The best example I can think of is if you are doing your first farmer's market, okay? You're going to have expectations about what's going to happen. I'm doing my first farmer's market at the end of July. And boy, oh boy, am I trying to keep my expectations in check. Because there might be, and this kind of relates even back to comparison. You might be going, oh, well, so-and-so sold out at her farmer's market or his farmer's market. What if I could do that? Well, let's let's reality check our expectations and think about how there might be a factor that I can't control, and that's going to be something that you have to take into consideration. Reality check those expectations around the FFT. I'm already telling myself, even if I don't sell a thing, I'm just gonna go and enjoy myself and get my name out there. And so now I've kind of set an expectation, and hopefully the experience will be better than just that expectation. And then the other thing is to rest and recover when you're in an FFT. Oh my gosh, be kind to yourself. Allow yourself time to rest and recover. Get enough sleep. I don't even have time to tell you how important sleep is in managing mental health. It's so important. I could probably do a whole other live on that. Um, and so FFTs are happening all the time. It is just part of life. And, we are in a collective FFT. We've been in a collective FFT since the pandemic started because none of us saw that coming. None of us had ever been through that before, and there was no instruction manual as to how to deal with it. So, good times. So, everything we've talked about so far is leading me to talk about burnout. You've probably either experienced burnout or you've heard people talk about feeling burnout. Um, Burnout is it's actually been recognized by the medical community as an actual thing in the last few years. All of us know it's a real thing, but now doctors are saying, oh, yeah, that's a real thing. So, thank you, medicine, for catching up with what we already know. So, what is burnout? Burnout is defined by three things: feeling emotional exhaustion, which is the fatigue that comes from caring too much for too long; depersonalization, which is the depletion of empathy, caring, and compassion; and then a decreased sense of accomplishment, which is a sense of futility or a feeling that nothing you do makes a difference. And so the next logical question is, how does burnout happen? Well, we've talked about stress and we've talked about anxiety. And so burnout happens when you are stuck in stress, specifically what's called the stress response cycle. This, again, I could talk for hours about this, but I'm trying to keep this very short and so that I can be done in the next 8 minutes. Oh my God. All right. So, something that might be helpful for you to know is that stress is a cycle. Okay. There is what's called the stress response cycle. And the idea is that you want to complete it to the end. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end to all emotions and feelings, but particularly with stress management, that's so important to understand. So you get stuck in stress when you don't complete the stress response cycle. Okay, what does that mean, Emily? What are you even talking about? What I'm talking about is when you're in stress and you know everybody has their ways of knowing they're in stress. Maybe they get hot, maybe they shake, maybe their stomach hurts, they get a headache. And what happens is, again, going back to the limbic system, it's recognizing the stressor and it's starting the stress response in order to keep you alive so that the lion that it thinks is coming is not, it's trying to keep that from eating you, basically. And then when we're done, when the stressor passes, okay? Do I need to, hold on. No, it's not time yet. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. Basically, because the limbic system is not very evolved, you have to communicate to it that the stressor is gone and that you can complete the stress response cycle, because you have to deal with the stressor and the stress in different ways. They are separate things. They are separate experiences. Okay, so it's the beginning of the summer for a lot of teachers. They've been out of school for a couple of weeks, and a lot of them are wondering, oh my gosh, why do I still feel so tired and I can't quite decompress from the school year? Well, it's because the stressor is gone, but they haven't really dealt with the stress yet. And in order to complete the stress response cycle, you want to do some things that let the limbic system know, hey, it's okay. I'm safe now. We're safe. I know I'm leaving something out and I might add it back in the group, but I feel like I'm missing some information. So if anything about this part is confusing, I will correct that. Some ways to complete the stress response cycle. Oh wait, no, I'm not talking about that yet again. All right, rewind. Something that you I thought was very helpful to know, and I hope you will find helpful, is that there is a neurological process that contributes to a lot of the frustration that business owners feel. So it is something called FOOP. It's a made up word. I learned this from doctors Emily and Amelia Nagoski, who wrote Burnout. So the process that the brain goes through has a lengthy title. It's actually called criterion velocity and the discrepancy reducing slash increasing feedback loop. I know, just forget I said all that. Fine. So they've shortened it to FOOP. I'm pretty sure they squished together feedback loop. So it is that cycle that we often experience when we're trying to achieve a goal and we can't quite get there. And so we end up in this cycle, another cycle. It's all about the cycles. The cycle of frustrated rage and hopeless despair. We've all been there. We've all been there just in trying to figure out how to make royal icing. Oh my gosh, royal icing. Okay. Uh, I'm 6 months into this and I am still trying to get the consistency right on royal icing. I have seen people in the group post, I think I have to give this up. I can't keep doing this. When it comes to the business because they're not having the success. Well, that's because you have a goal in mind and there's a part of your brain that is monitoring how long it's taking to get there and how much effort you're putting into it. And that's what that feedback loop is. It's FOOP. And so when you're stuck in frustrated rage and hopeless despair and just going around in that cycle, there are three things you can do to help get yourself out of that loop. Number one, you can change the effort that you're putting into your goal. So if you are putting a certain kind of effort in, so let me see about, if I think about this in the context of royal icing, if I'm only making royal icing once a week and I'm not following a recipe, one way I can change the effort, either the type or amount of effort you're putting into your goal, is I could say to myself, okay, I'm just going to do half a batch, but I'm going to find a recipe and I'm going to follow it to the letter. And I'm going to practice this twice a week instead of just once a week. I hope that's a good and good illustrative example. The next thing you can do to help get yourself out of FOOP is to change your expectations. Sometimes our expectations are not terribly reasonable. Again, so many of us are perfectionists and we're going, I have to get this right the first time, and it has to be perfect, and it has to be perfect every time. And so changing your expectations could be something as simple as saying, you know what? I don't have to make elaborate cookies with six colors using 3 different techniques. When I go to that farmer's market, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to change my expectations and go, you know what? All I'm going to expect for myself is I'm going to do 2 to 3 colors. We're going to do wet on wet technique. We're going to keep it simple so that I can have more time to focus on other things and I don't make myself crazy in the process of trying to make these cookies, especially when opening your business and decorating cookies, I think it really should be a joyful experience. I get so much joy out of making these cookies. I just can't even tell you. It's been a life-changing, truly a life-changing experience for me. So change your expectations, and that'll help you get out of the feedback loop. And then third, change the goal. You can change your goal. I tend to do this whenever I am having an event or so today, perfect example. I wanted to make brain cookies so that I could hold up a brain cookie and be really cute and clever. And you know what? I ran out of time. You know why? Because my best friend had a birthday earlier this week. Happy birthday, Corey. And tonight we're celebrating, and we're having a dinner at my mom's house because Corey's like another daughter to her. And I'm in charge of making mashed potatoes and dessert. And I was like, if I got to make all that, I don't have time to be making brain cookies, no matter how cute and adorable it would have been. So I changed my goal. And you know what? I did not make myself crazy. All right. So I'm going to try to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes because I wanted to do this in 45 minutes, just in case it was boring. I didn't want to take up the entire hour, and I wanted to have time in case there are any questions.
There aren't any yet.
There are no questions. Come on,
You're
y'all.
such a great explainer.
All right. Okay. All right. So, So back to burnout. We talked about completing the stress cycle to get you from stressed and being in survival mode, in fight, flight, or freeze, to your limbic system recognizing that you are safe back in your hut with your family and that the lion has gone back to its pride. Oh, my cat just made a little noise right there when I said pride. She's so cute. Her name's Luna. I love her so much. Okay. So it's worth noting that the cure for burnout is not self-care, although self-care is really important. And I encourage everyone to practice self-care on a daily basis. But really, what needs to happen is we all need to be caring for each other and looking out for each other and making sure we all have the time and the space to do the self-care. So unfortunately, a lot of people are living in households where self-care is not encouraged and in fact is actively discouraged or not supported. And so it breaks my heart to know that. And there's no quick and easy fix for that. But there it is. So some ways to complete the stress cycle, to communicate to your limbic system that I'm safe back in my hut, is to physical activity is the most efficient way, because what happens when you go into fight, flight, or freeze is you are being active in some way. There's adrenaline and things that need to be metabolized in your body, and you got to vent off that stress. So if you ran away from the lion, eventually you'd stop, and either you'd get eaten and then it wouldn't be an issue anymore, or you get home to your hut and your family and you feel relief and you're so grateful to be alive. So physical activity, any kind, it does not have to be rigorous. It does not have to be timed. You don't have to get your heart rate up or anything. Just move your body in a way that feels good to you. Deep breathing relaxation, which is one of my favorite things. Look it up because I don't have time to explain it. Laughter, genuine laughter, not genuine belly laughter. Sorry, now I'm laughing because the BFF is laughing. See, laughter, genuine belly laughter is so good for our mental health and helps us, because you're not going to be having genuine belly laughter while you're running away from the lion. So your limbic system will be like, something's genuinely funny. I'm safe. Yay. Connecting with other people emotionally or physically. Physical affection, a a nice, genuine, good hug where someone squeezes you so tight and it's all good, releases oxytocin, and you can relax. All right. Now, as quickly as I can, I'm going to go through antidotes, solutions to all of these things: imposter syndrome, anxiety, stress, burnout. Talk about your feelings, everybody. I love feelings. I love talking about feelings. Now, I did not grow up in a family where we talked about feelings, but I went to therapy and I learned how to talk about my feelings. And I gotta tell you, it's a game changer. It's amazing. It's pretty great. Feelings are real. Feelings are a neurobiological process that you may not be able to control what you feel, but you can choose how to respond to how you feel. So talk about your feelings. And here's the thing, you have to be able to know you're having a feeling, be able to label it and name it, and then allow yourself to feel it, and ideally talk to someone about it who you trust and is going to be supportive and validating of that feeling. Another antidote to anxiety, stress, burnout, imposter syndrome is using effective communication techniques. Being an assertive communicator. Assertive communicators set boundaries. I love boundaries so much. I love a lot of things, I guess. I love brains. I love feelings. I love boundaries. Again, I did not grow up in a family where people were well boundaried, but I learned through therapy and reading and practicing setting boundaries. And now I kind of rock at it, y'all. I'm not going to lie. So the purpose of boundaries is to communicate to someone what is okay and what is not okay, explicitly and specifically. So, for example, it's okay if I can't think of a cookie related boundary, so I'm just going to use one I use a lot with clients. It's okay if you borrow my car. It's not okay to bring it back with a mess inside and an empty gas tank. So that's an example of setting a boundary. It is specific and it is very clear. Setting boundaries eliminates some, not completely, but it's going to eliminate or lower your risk of experiencing resentment and drama. So when you set boundaries, you're going to experience less resentment because you've already made clear what it is you expect. And then if that person tries to violate that boundary, then you come on in and enforce that boundary. Oh, no, that's not okay. We're not doing this. There's my mean face. All right. And then, something about boundaries that I love. Oh, one of the best things I've ever learned from Brene Brown, aside from everything she ever says ever, is one time she said, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. Whew, mind blown. Hello. And I think we all pretty much want to be kind people. So remember that clear is kind. I had a client say that in a session the other day. Made my heart grow, just like the Grinch. I'm not even kidding. It was a wonderful moment. Another antidote, using empathy and validation, which, oh my gosh, thank you to Heather and Corey for preaching about validation and then talking about empathy a few podcast episodes ago, because they will change your life. Empathy is putting yourself in another person's shoes and looking at the situation through their eyes and then expressing how you think they probably feel. Validation is letting them know that how they feel is okay. It doesn't mean you agree with them. You're not validating their behavior if they haven't behaved well, but have empathy and validate that feeling. Feelings are not necessarily rational, but they are always real. And lastly, mindfulness. Mindfulness is, well, not lastly, but third. Mindfulness is the practice of being in the moment. And the best definition of mindfulness I've ever heard that I love so much is paying attention without judgment. So letting go of judgment and just noticing what's happening in the moment. Again, I could probably do a whole nother live just on mindfulness. And remember, lastly, complete the stress response cycle. Read Burnout, listen to the podcast. I've put a couple of podcast links in this so that you can go, and if you're a podcast, addict like myself, then you can find it. So, in conclusion, take care of your mental health because it is health. You are a mind and a body. They are not separate. They are one thing. And I truly believe better mental health is going to give you a greater chance of success in your business. So that's it. It's exactly 3:00. I did it.
Okay, so we have a couple comments and questions.
I love comments and questions. Okay.
So I am going to apologize right now to Miss Rakowska. I'm going to probably butcher your name, and I am so sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so Agneseska, that's what I'm hoping it is.
Okay.
Agneseska.
Agnieszka?
Yeah, I'm not sure, so I'm very,
I
very
don't know
sorry.
how to say that beautiful name.
Yeah. Okay, so she has a comment, and then she has, like, a question.
Okay.
So she says...
Hopefully they can all hear you.
I hope so.
Okay.
She says, you said, Emily, that everything is just fine. All is fine. I believe that, and I frequently remind that to myself, and thank you for reminding me to remember that.
Oh, so important.
So then she also says, with regard to expectations, would that be helpful to simply do your best and most of all, not to expect that everyone will absolutely love what you do?
Yes. Because, and Luna, my cat, agrees. Yes. Say that again.
Would that be helpful to simply do your best and most of all, not to expect that everyone will absolutely love what you do?
Yes. No matter what you do in this life, there is going to be criticism. There's going to be people who don't like what you do. There are going to be negative experiences, and that is all okay. It really is. I know I keep saying everything's fine, kind of tongue in cheeky, but I do when I am. Just earlier today, I was saying to myself, because I was nervous about doing this, I was just saying to myself, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. And that helps me. So reminding yourself however you can, sorry, I'm going to adjust my hair a little bit. You cannot please everyone all the time. This is something we've known for a long time, but it's so hard to integrate that. So if you have to tell yourself that every day, look in the mirror, look in your own eyes and say, it is not my job to make everyone happy.
Awesome.
Do yourself that favor. Okay.
Okay, so Lizette Sweet Treats says, thank you so much. I learned a lot with this class. I hope you do more.
Oh, I love you.
So that's amazing.
If you want more, I'm always here.
She loves to talk.
I love to talk.
So then Serena Dawn says, I've only heard fight or flight, never freeze. Is that something recently added? Because I'm definitely a freeze. I'm also a freeze. I like to play dead.
Yeah. Corey is a freeze. BFF Corey is a freeze. Yeah, I also tend to freeze. It's not new. It's actually been around for a while. And that is that tendency. People who tend to, when they are in stress or anxiety, when they withdraw, when they isolate, they're the ones who, when they are having problems, they are not answering calls or texts. They get real flaky.
How are you talking about my life?
Because I
know.
Because I know.
Because you know.
Because I know. Yeah. So they're oftentimes they are the people who you're worried about in your family because they're loners or because they're just not responding. So yeah, that's something. Freeze, totally normal, and just a quick note, that tends to be one that people get shamed for, and there is nothing wrong with that. If freeze is your thing, then let freeze be your thing. It's fine. All right. What's next?
So Mara, sorry if it's Mara, I'm saying Mara. Mara Lynn Buckle says, she said, sorry, I lost connection, so I apologize if you've covered this already. I'm guilty of starting a goal and then moving on to another goal constantly, digging new holes and getting nowhere fast. Do you have any suggestions for staying focused?
Ooh, suggestions for staying focused. Oh gosh, that is something I think we're all suffering from right now. And I wanted to mention this, but I'm going to say it now that we're still in this pandemic, okay? We have been in a collective state of grief, trauma, anxiety, and stress for almost 2.5 years. So if you're feeling crazy sometimes, because there's neurobiological stuff going on. So if you're having trouble focusing, please be kind to yourself and forgive yourself for that, because it's hard. I am struggling with that, and I'm usually pretty good at it, but lately, I don't know, there's something going on. It's the heat and the humidity in the Midwest. So go back and say what was the last part of that one about focusing? Say it again. Did you lose it?
I'm guilty of starting a goal and then moving on to another goal constantly, digging new holes and getting nowhere fast.
Okay. One of the best things you can do is, this is going to sound really simplistic, but it's actually really helpful. And I'm sorry if you already do it, then good for you. Is write it down. Write down the stuff that you want to accomplish. Make a list, make some bullet points, literally write it with your hand on paper, because there's something that happens in the transition of taking something out of here and putting it on paper.
Oh, so hard.
That it's kind of like at that point, instead of living in it, then you become the observer of it, and your brain can process it in a different way. And that's one of my favorite things, because that's something that I have to do all the time is, I have multiple projects going on. I have so much stuff I want to do around my house, and I have to write it down. So I get a giant Post-it note, because I love a Post-it note, and I'm getting ready to write down all the rooms, what I want to do in them. And so write it down. And you can separate it into columns. Do whatever feels good to you. Do it, color code it, whatever feels right. But write it down so you can stay focused. And remember to practice some mindfulness. Mindfulness is so good. Okay.
Okay, so we have, you've officially gone international.
Ooh.
We have Laura Carrillo from Monterrey, Mexico.
Oh!
And she says, thank you so much for the class. Now I know why I freeze sometimes. I will use the tools you gave us for damage control. I love the class. You are so nice and fun. Hope there's more in the future.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
And then Miss Rakowska, because I'm so sorry, I don't want to butcher your name again. She says, you got this, Emily. We can't make everyone happy. You made me happy today. Thank you for your time. I will take a lot from today's live. Regards.
Aww.
And then, sorry, I gotta hug my BFF because she knows so much. And she's so helpful, and I hope that you took a lot from today.
Thank you for helping me through today. Oh my God, I couldn't have done this without her. And thank you for being here. I'm sending love to you. I am sending good cookie vibes. And again, if there are any follow-up questions, if you think of something, post it in the group. And if you do it during the replay, a lot of other people have been doing this, saying, just put the word replay and then put your question or your comment or whatever. I am so glad that I got through this. I'm gonna
We're
go.
gonna eat peanut butter
We're
cups.
gonna have a peanut butter cup. We're gonna eat peanut butter cups as celebration. The ones that are all peanut butter, have you had them? God, they're delicious. Oh my gosh. All right. I love you. I love the cookie group. I love Heather and Corey. I love the whole world. Bye. Okay. Oh, now I have to do this awkward transition of ending this live video. Bye.